The first time Daniel saw the pawprints, they were damp, small circles pressed into the dust near the kitchen door. He stared at them for what felt like an eternity, his coffee cooling in his trembling hands. There hadn't been rain for days, no open doors, no stray animals, but the prints led straight from the back door to the spot where Buddy's old food bowl used to sit. He told himself it was impossible. He wanted it to be impossible. Yet when he bent down, a faint smell of wet fur and earth rose up, the exact scent of Buddy after a long run through the rain. Daniel whispered into the silence, "Buddy?" The air thickened. The refrigerator hummed. Then came the sound, a single unmistakable wag of a tail brushing against the wooden floor. And in that moment, the impossible didn't feel distant anymore. It felt home. But the comfort was short-lived because the prints didn't stop at the bowl. They turned toward the basement door and vanished halfway down the steps.
Where truth meets imagination. Welcome to Facts and Fiction.
The first time Daniel noticed the paw prints, it was still early enough in the morning for denial to seem reasonable. He stood barefoot on the kitchen tiles, half dreaming, half awake, coffee mug trembling in his hands as he stared at the damp, perfect imprints leading from the back door to the corner where Buddy's food bowl used to sit. 5 years ago, those prints were his favorite sight in the world. He used to laugh at how Buddy's paws left little half-moons of mud every time it rained. But today, the world outside was dry, not a drop of rain for days. The air smelled faintly of wet earth and old fur, the exact scent Buddy used to carry after playing in the garden. Daniel set his mug down slowly. "It's a trick of the light," he told himself. "Maybe something leaked. Maybe I'm losing it." But when he knelt down, the smell grew stronger, warm, familiar, and heartbreakingly real. "Buddy?" he whispered. Silence. Then the refrigerator hummed, the old pipes moaned, and something brushed against his ankle, a soft, invisible pressure that froze him in place. He looked down. Nothing. And yet he heard it, the faint thump-thump of a tail against the floorboards. Daniel backed away, his heart pounding. The paw prints ended abruptly near the basement door. A smear of wet earth marked the handle, as if something had nudged it open. That door had been locked for years. He didn't open it that morning. He couldn't. But he began to feel it watching him, that quiet door, like a mouth that wanted to speak. That night, Daniel dreamed of Buddy running through mist. The dog turned to look at him, tail wagging, eyes full of light. And then, in an instant, they turned black. When he woke, the echo of panting still filled the room. He tried to distract himself the next day. Work, phone calls, meaningless tasks. But the world seemed quieter than usual. Even the wind outside felt like it was holding its breath. By evening, he gave in. He walked to the basement door, placed his hand on the knob, and whispered, "If it's you, Buddy, I'm not afraid." The metal was cold as ice. The moment he turned it, the bulb above him flickered violently, buzzing like a swarm of insects. He descended slowly. Each step creaked under his weight, the air growing colder with every breath. At the bottom, he found it, Buddy's favorite red ball, half covered in dust. He froze. He had buried that ball with him. Daniel bent to pick it up, tears stinging his eyes. The second his fingers touched it, something shifted in the shadows, a blur of movement, a glimmer of eyes. He spun around, flashlight trembling in his grasp. "Buddy?" The darkness moved again, not toward him, but behind him. When he turned, the red ball was gone. In its place lay a muddy paw print, pressed into the concrete, still wet. He ran up the stairs, slammed the door, and locked it. But the sound followed him, a low, rhythmic scratching from below.
For the next 3 days, Daniel tried to rationalize it. Grief hallucinations, stress. Maybe he'd imagined everything. But the house disagreed. He found the old collar on his nightstand, the same one he buried with Buddy under the oak tree. Its metal tag was rusted, the engraved name barely visible. The smell of damp soil clung to it. He dropped it immediately, but when he picked it up again, it was warm, like a heartbeat beneath his fingertips. He began documenting every strange thing in a notebook, the paw prints, the cold drafts, the occasional bark that echoed faintly through the walls. But each morning, the pages were blank. The ink vanished overnight. Once he caught sight of something small and golden moving across the hallway in his peripheral vision. He rushed out, calling, "Buddy!" No answer. Only silence and a single tennis ball rolling slowly out of the shadows toward his feet. He didn't touch it. That evening, he called his neighbor, Mrs. Callahan, an elderly widow who had lived next door for decades. Her voice trembled when he mentioned the house. "Oh, Daniel, you didn't know." "Know what?" She sighed. "The land you live on used to belong to the old animal shelter before the flood. The man who ran it lost everything. They said he buried his dog under that oak tree when it drowned. And when they told him to move, he said he'd never leave his best friend behind. He stayed until the end, until they found him in the basement." Daniel gripped the phone tighter. Found him? They said he wasn't alone. After the call, the silence of the house felt heavier than ever. The air seemed to hum with invisible movement, as though something unseen was pacing. Then came the sound again, thump, thump, gentle, rhythmic, against the living room floor. He followed it, whispering, "Buddy, I missed you so much." And then he heard it, a bark, soft but wrong. It wasn't a sound of joy. It was a plea. The lamp flickered. His phone, resting on the table, lit up by itself, the screen showing an old video he had recorded years ago, Buddy running in circles, barking happily. But now, beneath the barking, a faint human whisper leaked through the speakers. "Help me." His throat tightened. He rewound it again and again until he was sure the whisper was real. "Help me." He dropped his phone. It hit the floor with a sharp crack, the screen flickering. The lights above him dimmed and pulsed, 3 short bursts, 1 long, 3 short again. His eyes widened. It was Buddy's signal, the same scratching pattern he'd used at the door whenever he needed to go outside. "Buddy, what do you want me to see?" The lights went out completely. In the darkness, he heard a sound like claws scraping over wood, slow, deliberate, moving toward the basement. He followed the noise until he stood before the door once again. His heart pounded so loud he could barely hear himself breathe. This time he didn't hesitate. He opened the door. A cold rush of air hit his face, damp, foul, and unmistakably earthly. His flashlight beam shook as he descended. The basement seemed deeper than before. The red ball sat motionless in the center, beside something small, a wooden box, half-rotted, its lid cracked open. Inside lay the rusted collar, a tuft of golden fur, and a small piece of paper, yellowed with age. On it, a single line, written in trembling handwriting.
He won't let me go. Daniel froze. The beam of his flashlight drifted toward the far wall, where shadows pulsed and stretched, forming the outline of a dog. Its tail wagged once, then another shadow appeared beside it, taller, human-shaped, its hand resting on the dog's back. "Who are you?" Daniel whispered, voice breaking. The shadows tilted their heads in unison. The human one spoke, a low rasp that echoed through the room. "You buried me with him." The flashlight flickered violently. Daniel stumbled backward, gasping, "We waited for you." The red ball rolled across the floor, stopping at his feet. Then came the sound, the bark, the growl, and the whisper, all blending together in one impossible, grief-soaked voice. "Don't leave us again." The door slammed shut above him, and as Daniel's scream echoed through the basement, the paw prints began to appear once more, leading up the stairs, as though something was leaving the darkness behind.